mentioned last week that Senny may be potentially back for this one. Is that still the case?
No, we are still having a very challenging time on the injury front, shall we say?
Okay, so I mean, does that mean you've got fresh injury worries since?
Yeah, we've got a difficult situation in terms of injury, a number of challenges, Ian. So I think tomorrow night you will see that. So we will still have to watch and wait and see if it's a late test on 1, 2, or 3 of them. But at the moment, we are probably facing unprecedented times in terms of injury.
Okay. I know Johan Barwe played last week. He had that knee problem he's sort of been struggling with. Is he one of those players?
He'll be one having a late test to see as well. One of a few.
Okay. And
so I'm not being too vague. Obviously, I'm not giving it away in terms of our team to anyone, but this is possibly the most unprecedented time in terms of injury.
Okay. I just want to go back to there's some comments made by Paul Heckingbottom after the game up at Bramwell Lane, where basically he accused you of kind of fudging the COVID rules for the game early in the season. I mean, I guess you must have been pretty surprised by those comments.
I know Paul, a lot of respect for Paul, like Paul and Stuart and the staff. If he made those comments, I would be very surprised. If he did, he couldn't be further from the truth. So nonsensical comments and any accusation as such should be treated with the disdain that it deserves. But I know Paul very well and a lot of respect for him. So I'm a bit bemused to hear such comments were or such accusations were made. It's not like him at all.
Okay, so you didn't speak to him afterwards and sort of clarify what?
Not about them. We had a drink. We were complimentary, and I know Stuart, of course, from Scotland, and chatting away. And as I say, a lot of respect for Paul and the staff and the job they're doing and how they conduct themselves. So I only found out about it afterwards. If it's true, Ian, as I say, one, completely nonsensical, and treat such remarks with the contempt they deserve, because it truly is a bizarre statement to make.
Okay. I don't know if you heard, there's Les spoke to TalkSport yesterday and just gave some comments basically about the season and your future, etc. Have you had any communication with the sort of the powers that be, so to speak, about what's going on for next season?
No, I've had no comments at all. I just spoke to Les. I've had no comments whatsoever at all regarding next season. So I'm sure you can take from that what you will, Ian.
Okay. I mean, from the sort of a squad perspective, I mean, what's been the players been speaking to you about next season? What might be going on, or
I've said many times in about the character of this group of players, and I know it's probably taken very lightly. All good. There's always, every club has difficult dressing rooms or good dressing rooms, difficult individuals. I can't speak highly enough of this group of players. So I have a very close relationship with the squad. And talk to them regularly, and that's how you manage. You have to have that trust and honesty with the players and consistency with the players, which we have. Myself, John, and the staff have a very close relationship with them. So, of course, they voice their concerns and ask questions. That's only natural, Ian. But my job is to act in a professional manner and get the job done to the best of my ability, and that of the staff, of course. So all I can do with the questions is be honest with them. They'll ask me what's going on. All I can do is be honest with them. So is it difficult? Yes, it has been challenging in certain aspects, but then again, it's football, and it's we come through difficult times. So, as I say, honesty, consistency, respect with the players. I think those are the traits you have to demonstrate, Ian, to have a good relationship and hopefully a productive relationship.
You've obviously worked at for previous huge clubs, sort of Rangers, Forest, etc., and pressure comes with the job. How challenging has it been, sort of this sort of run since February, from where you were to where you are now with injuries and stuff like that? Would it be sort of one of the hardest in your career?
Yeah, I think it's definitely challenging, without a doubt. I think in terms of injuries keeps coming up, and every club, I've always said to you from the outset, it's never an excuse. It's football, and you have to deal with it. And every club has tough situations to deal with. In terms of a smaller squad impacted by COVID and losing key players to lengthy injury, that has been really challenging, undoubtedly, to lose players. They're not losing them for 7 to 10 days. We're losing them for 7 to 12 weeks. We have an outstanding medical team here. Really, I can't speak high enough of them, Ian. So it's nothing to do with that. It's just, I think, the league, I think over 70% of our weeks are 3-game weeks. which have made it enormously challenging, and players are simply breaking. So that has been tough. Players out of contract has been challenging to have that large number out of contract, and they have uncertainty. But again, it's part and parcel, and part also, it's how you learn. It's been the most challenging season, but you learn from it, and hopefully you're better for it going forward.
Do you think some of the players in the squad, do you think they'll be better for the experience of this season, going through what they've been through?
You do. I said to him last week after the game, without breaking the confidence of what I said to him, I said to him, I always spoke to him about having no regrets. But maybe I got that wrong. Maybe you need to have that regret to learn how painful it can be and how sore it can be to hold you in better stead going forward. Because there's no doubt the position they earned themselves, got themselves into through their quality and their endeavour. We've had a tough 8 weeks or so, which has seen us drop out the top 6, and that regret, Peterborough, Cardiff, Barnsley away, those type of regrets, you have to learn from. I always said, don't come off the pitch with no regrets. Maybe you have to have 1 or 2 regrets. I can certainly said to him, I can go back to my City career and look at 1 or 2 examples where you say, I should have done that. I should have done it. And it haunts you still to this day. There'll be things happen. I speak to a mate in the City and I go, I should have done on that particular day back in 96. I knew I should. And they do. So I say to them, have no regrets, but maybe from a learning perspective, Ian, you need to have those regrets. So that's where we are right now. Have they learned? Definitely. They're a really good group. We've got a really strong squad, getting better and better. And I hope very much they continue that progress.
When sort of big players are out of the side, you kind of need other players to stand up and sort of make their mark, so to speak. Do you feel that maybe not enough of them have done that?
No, they're unfair. I think it's a bit unfair, if I'm honest here. And when you say young players to step up, they're young professionals, they're learning, they're dealing with it. It's how you learn. You only ever learn by your mistakes. There's no other way of learning. You learn by your mistakes. Doesn't matter if you're doing football, playing golf, whatever it is, your driving lesson, you learn by your mistakes. So I think players have stood up, have done exceptionally well. We've got a lot of young players have come through and are developing nicely. If I look at the likes of Jimmy Dunn and Rob Dickey, and I look at the likes of Sam McCallum, he's a lone player from Norwich, he's coming on, Sam Field, Chrissy, where Chrissy was to where he is now, Ilias, etc. And look around the squad, we've had really good progress on a number of fronts. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. They've stood up when asked to do so. This is a brutally relentless league. Look at last week. I look at some of the wage bills being paid, some of the budgets being paid. It's a tough ask for these boys, and they've responded very, very well.
Okay, and just finally, I mean, answer this if you wish. I don't blame you if you don't. I mean, are you expecting to be in charge sort of pre-season?
I think if that was the case, Ian, your first question you asked me about communication and contract talks would have already been held. So in that respect, my answer to that question. My job, though, is to rest assured, is to make sure that as long as you're in post, you do the job to the best of your ability. And that will always be the case. And I know we've all got flaws and faults. I can honestly tell you, Ian, that will never change. In whatever job I'm in, I'm being very fastidious to make sure you do the job to the best of your ability. You never talk ill of the club or any individuals within the club, and you just put your head down with your staff and get the job done. The focus now is on tomorrow night. Then it will be on Swansea. And then, as I say, from there, things will invariably change, I'm sure. How can I put this? If you go back to when I left Brentford, there was a lot of surprise, and where we were in the table, we got to the playoffs after being promoted, and there was a lot of consternation and what's going on. At the end of the day, and I said then, and it's still very relevant now, the owners write the checks. It's their money that goes into a football club, and whether you agree, disagree, it doesn't matter. It's their choice, because quite rightly, then they do write those checks. At the end of every month, they have to put money into a football club. So I said at the time then, and nothing has changed. That's always been the case. That's their prerogative. They live and die by decisions, and all you can do while you're in situ, and fortunate and privileged enough to be in situ, is to work your very best you possibly can. So that won't change. So for me, it's, as I say, it's I don't expect to be here. My job is to be as good as I can for as long as I can here, and then see what happens after that.
And just on that Sheffield United game, obviously, is there a bit of kind of frustration going into it? Obviously, this could have been quite a big occasion, had kind of results gone in your favour. Obviously, you've still been chasing the playoffs. Is there a little bit of disappointment there that you're not going into this game?
Of course. But our job, I say this it's not a cliche-ridden statement. they're professional players. I've got no doubt about the quality and our approach to this game. We want to go and win the game. It's the last home game in front of our fans, under the lights, on TV. We've got to make sure we go and deliver a performance that the QPR fans enjoy. That will never change. If that wasn't the case, then we shouldn't be involved in football. Yeah, as I said to you before, I repeat myself, it drives me nuts when I hear people say it's a nothing game. You put it on a jersey, you're getting paid to play football in front of playing spectators. So, yeah, we have a responsibility, and rest assured that'll be our aim tomorrow night, to prepare well and deliver a good performance.
Is that still a big element of personal pride now? Obviously, even though the playoffs aren't mathematically completely impossible, obviously looks very much like that's over. Is it still a big personal pride that to kind of get past that points total last year, try and end strong?
Absolutely. You look at last year and everyone goes, I had a great finish, but we were 2 points off 7th. We were tied 8th with Cardiff, and we lost on goal difference behind them. And those things they would take. You always want to be better and keep pushing forward. So we have 2 very tough fixtures, Sheffield and Swansea away, and we have to prepare well and deliver forward. That's at least the players have responsibility down to themselves as well, to the club, the supporters, of course, the supporters, but to themselves as well. So don't let ourselves down now. So everything will be done to deliver a good performance tomorrow and again next week.
And I suppose as well, just last home game of the season, just give the fans, a good send off. Obviously going into the summer as well. I suppose that'd be a big thing for you.
It's a big thank you. Programme notes reflect that, I hope, in terms of the support we've been given this season, home and away, has been first class. I always say the same words, and you're always in danger of people just ignoring them and saying the same old repeated cliches, but it's never taken for granted, and it's always greatly appreciated. And I hope very much that's reflected in a post-game recognition from both people tomorrow night.